Hello, this is Patrick with New Jersey's Outdoor Adventures YouTube channel. Excited to have George Morrow with Humble Road back on the channel. He's a channel favorite. Today he's going to give us a tour of his newest creation, a Ram ProMaster camper conversion. So join us.
Hello, Patrick. Well, we're here again. This client's name is Sam, and Sam has been a full-timer for 5 years. He had a Class C Born Free, 27 foot. He was actually interviewed, I think it was his first week out on the road, and he was interviewed by Bob Wells, the godfather of nomadic life. Pretty cool. Anyway, he decided, as most RVers do, as most full-timers do, is you need to downsize. So he went from the 27-foot Born Free to this ProMaster. This is a 159 wheelbase ProMaster. It's the extended chassis, and it's a 3500, which is very important in my opinion. I would not want to build on a 2500 if I could help it. The gross vehicle weight rating on the 3500 is more conducive to a build. Typically, I build in a pretty lightweight manner using 80/20 extruded aluminum. So what I'm putting in the van is a lot less than conventional plywood box construction. But I'm still this van, we put in 2,800 pounds of material, components, and appliances. That's including a full 45 gallons of water. Sam took this out and weighed it, and he had none of his personal gear in here. He just filled up the gas tank, he filled up the water, fresh water was 45 gallons, and he took it and he weighed it, and it left him with 800 pounds for him to bring in his personal gear. So, and that's a 3500, and we're being very judicious with our weight. Let me bring you inside. We could start up front here. On my channel, Humble Road, I've done a lot of segmented build videos every week, and this is not the original shower design. Originally, I started with a full bathroom or shower box room, and I had my armoires swinging out of that bathroom box. And I told Sam when we were doing the cardboard build on that, I'm not 100% sold on this yet. I don't think it's ready for prime time. And it proved to be too much of a claptrap, cumbersome situation, especially for a full-timer. So this was the alternative design we came up with. And it's primarily because Sam he loves to stretch out like this and lounge. Sam is tall, I'm not. But he wanted this wide open lounge up front. So that's what he got. And I'll tell you, from where I'm sitting now, the view is really nice. It's wide open. I often say that with my floor plans, I build the Class A's of Class B vans. But this one is really very spacious. And his wife Sharon has her own lagoon table here. Factory swivels. Both of these are factory swivel seats. I highly recommend factory swivels. If you can get them, do it. They are far superior to aftermarket swivels, in my humble opinion. So my son Alex works with me, and he brings his man Ron down with him. They've got a nice cabinet shop up in Hoboken, but they give me a few days a week, and Alex is responsible for all the woodwork in the van. In this particular van, it's all walnut. And he's got a couple of different styles, and basically I design it, I explain to him what it is I want it to do, and he works out all the details. He does a very good job for such a young craftsman. So here's how this bathroom works now. You can see that it's a lounge, and if they did care to entertain somebody, this is now a bench or an ottoman. But it's also a toilet, as you can see. So, and there's another thing that happens with full-timers. The longer you go out full-time, the more in tune with your bodily waste and your necessities and your resources as you go through life. You wake up in the morning and you say, do I have enough fresh water to get through the day? Have you ever done that living in a house? No, never. So when you're in a van or a camper, you live in the moment. So for him to have his toilet out here in the open is not a big deal. And I can attest to that. When I traveled in my Pleasureway van, I did have a bathroom room, but I'd never had the door closed. Why would you bother? I left it wide open. So when Sam needs to use the toilet, he just has to take the seat cushion off, and here's his toilet. This is a composting toilet, but again, one of the things Sam has decided to do is not even compost. He just puts everything in a bag with kitty litter, and he disposes of the bag when he can. To take a shower, the first step would be to lift up this little lever here. Let me move that seat back. You lift up that false floor, okay, and that reveals the shower pan. And we made this toilet box as light as we could so Sam could lift it out and put it aside. Now you've got your shower. The shower pan actually extends under the armoire. So this armoire is literally floating over the shower pan. Pan's got 3 drains in it, and that helps, you know, depending on what kind of angle you've got the van parked, the water will drain out. There's a drain here, and there's 2 more under the armoire. And drain location has everything to do with the type of van you're building, because you've got to see what's available to you underneath the van to run those pipes. So now, when Sam's ready for a shower, he pulls this mirror off, and that reveals his shower controls. Everything is right inside a waterproof box. This is made out of PVC. It's completely waterproof. Alex did an incredible job with this. And we left all this area wide open. There's a little shelf in here. He can put all of his shampoos and all the shower tchotchkes that he needs. And you take a military shower, 45 gallons of fresh, and our hot water is made while you're driving. I'll show you that system later on, but it's free hot water. So he's ready for his shower. He pulls the shower curtain around 360 degrees, and he takes his shower. There is a MaxxAir fan right here, and so I recommend to him, when he's done with his shower and he's getting dressed, leave this open, put the fan on, create some airflow, and this will dry out. It's a no mildew, no mold curtain. It lives back in this cubby. This is a U-shaped waterproof cubby. And the curtain can live back there and drain off into the shower pan. Now you know the reason for the shower pan extending under the armoire, because you can put that curtain away without any worry. It can drip right into the pan. You're done with your shower. You put your mirror back and bring your toilet in. This mirror is on a French cleat, so it's very easy to put back in place. Bring your toilet back in. And this is about as much of a maneuver as I would ever want for somebody to take a shower in a custom van. That's about it. Any more maneuvering and claptrapping, it's just not practical. One of the things I tell my clients is I feel it's very important to get factory glass. I like to order my vans with full glass all around. And there's a couple of reasons for that. First of all, I'm just not a fan of sitting in a windowless van, or a van that's got these small windows. You feel like you're living in a shoebox. The whole van experience is to be outdoors, and with all this glass, you bring the outdoors in with you. The experience you have in the van is just as important and should be as enjoyable as the experience you have outside the van. So that's my theory. That's one theory about why I put glass in. The other is, with factory glass, you've got an entire service network nationwide to repair a leak. If you have windows put in somewhere, what's your recourse? You got to go back to that guy that installed that glass. You could be in Montana and he's in Hoboken. So how's that going to work? Factory glass. The factory glass is fixed. You cannot open it. To get around that issue, I put in 2 MaxxAir fans. I put one up front and I put one in the back. So you'll have one on intake, you'll have the other on outtake, and you're exchanging the air in this van several times per minute. It's proved to be very comfortable. I've got one van that lives in Southern California. I've got another van, the Vagabonds. They're traveling all over the country. They've traversed, since I gave them that van, they've crossed the country 6 times. They're on their way back to Florida now. No issues. That system works just fine. So the pizza oven, as we call it, in a ProMaster van, is a shelf that's, I believe this is an option, but I've always had them in the ProMasters I built. We basically just put a little trim fascia on the front of it and we leave it wide open. But the one thing that's very important to do is to drop this interior roof liner, the ceiling liner, and insulate back there. It's not insulated, and that's how it got its name, the pizza oven, because it gets so hot up in here, you could make pizza. I think that's a plus. On this side, you know, this area on every van, whether it's a Sprinter, a Ford, or a ProMaster, this is always an area of contention when it comes to design and building it out and what do you do with it. And we have found that it's best to just box the whole thing in. We put a strip plate in here that aids in entry and galley, and this is where we put all of our gauges for the van. Now this is not breakers, these are just our gauges, our monitors. Fresh water, this gauge is excellent, very accurate for keeping an eye on your fresh water tank. This is turning on your battery with assorted gauges that you need to know about. Turn your inverter on. This is the panel for the inverter. This is for the Webasto heater. Now this is a gasoline-fired furnace that is inside the van. It's a German company. Webasto is an excellent company, and we're sipping gasoline from the main tank. There's no propane on any of the vans I build. So this is, you just set that thermostat and forget about it and leave it, and it just comes on and you're toasty warm. It's quiet, it's safe. I put 2 carbon monoxide smoke detectors in each van. I put one up front here. I put another one under the bed in the garage. That's right over the battery and your inverter, which is where you might have a problem, God forbid. All of my lighting is dimmed. I've got these rotary dial dimmer lights, and I had these little face plates made up on a CNC machine. I've got triples and doubles, but I like these little dimmers. I get to put them everywhere. In this case, I've got a puck light as a reading light for Sharon. I've got another puck light over here for Sam, and then there's another switch here that takes care of the office shower area. Everything's dimmed down. I, in my past life, was a commercial photographer, so lighting is important to me. So all the lighting in the van is very specific. So my switches have a fuzzy logic to them. The leftmost switch controls my hallway lights. Then the next switch controls this galley task light. And then this one controls this galley task light. So there's a fuzzy logic to everything I do. The air conditioner. In my first van, I put in a Houghton air conditioner, which is offered in this country by Advanced RV. It's a very, very quiet, efficient air conditioner. My concerns are it's extremely expensive, and I don't believe it's serviced anywhere beyond Advanced RV. I may be wrong about that at this stage, but I recommend now this Coleman NDQ, and it's important that you get an NDQ. Very quiet air conditioner. It's half the price of the Houghton, and I think it's a very, very good alternative. When I have this thing running, it looks like I'm pulling about 8-9 amps, and then if you take it down in its duty cycles, for instance, you want to get in bed and go to sleep through the night with a mild duty cycle, you get through the night without any problem using the 630 amps of lithium and a 3,000 watt inverter that I'll show you in the back. This being part of the shower office area, this we call the armoire, and this is where Sam's going to keep all his clothing and doodads. That's a computer drawer I see. And here's his clothing. So he's got 4 drawers for his clothing. This is all Alex. If you notice, it's all grain matched. And he grain matches the entire sheet of walnut plywood right up. And he takes into account the saw curves that he puts in the material. We have these flush slam latches so you don't catch your clothes on them. I love this that it's one move to pull and open. A lot of vans you have to push the button to release it, then pull it out. That's a 2-step process. It's not a big deal, but little details add up. The one thing that we are known for, I suppose, is that we trim out in 80/20. All of these modules, I call these modules. This is the armoire module. I've got a refrigerator module. I've got a galley module. They are all bones of 80/20, which is extruded aluminum. So it's a skeletal system, and there's no plywood box construction. In other words, these doors and drawers are the only wood that's on this module. If I took these drawers out, you'd see the back of the van. You'd see all my wires and pipes. That's intentional. That way we can service those systems if we ever need to. If we have to fix a pipe, if we have to run an extra line someday, an electrical line, all these drawers come out and this entire box becomes an access hatchway into all those components. Same thing with the fridge. Pull this fridge out, put it on a dolly, roll it away. The whole brains of the outfit behind this fridge, all the wiring, everything. Same thing with this pantry. We put in a food pantry down at the end. In this case, I build specifically to client objectives. I listen to what they say. I listen to what's important to them. There's no closet in here. Sam did not find the need for a closet. He's got all his clothes in these drawers. So in that space, he felt that canned goods and a pantry would be more important. So fine, no closet, a pantry. Some people want a closet and a pantry, so we make room for it. But in a van, you have to realize you're dealing with a finite amount of space. So if you want this, we got to take from somewhere else. It's a compromise. One thing I wanted to mention here, it's something that you might overlook. You've got a bank of 4 drawers, right? Don't make them all the same size. Because if you've got a drawer this high and your stuff doesn't fit in it because it's too big and the drawer is too shallow, well, now it doesn't fit in any of the drawers. So stagger the depth of the drawers as you go down so that you can accommodate all your stuff. We all have stuff. On this side, we've got the galley. Again, all walnut. This is a Corian Glacier White. I think Corian is one of the best countertop products that you can put in a van. It flexes. It's somewhat lightweight compared to other composite materials. Don't use granite unless you're really going to lock it down because it'll crack. Corian's a good item to use because it's clean. You can keep it clean. It's not hypoallergenic. It's not like if you did butcher block, you could pick up germs in there. So I like the Corian. It's easy to work with. Over here, this faucet was something Sam wanted. You turn the faucet on and then touch it to turn it off. And what this does is it maintains temperature because we put a check valve on the bottom of the faucet, and I've got check valves throughout my water system. So it maintains water in those lines. So you're saving water. You're not wasting water waiting for it to get to a certain temperature. Water pump switch is right here. One switch right here at the sink, and the shower's right there. And I like to use a lighted switch for the water pump so that if you forget to turn it off and you went to bed, you'll know. I'm a big proponent of keeping the water pump off until you need it. The design of these galleys, I've picked up on this now in 2 vans and I just love it. I've got this 1-inch break from the top set of drawers, all right, down to the next set. This little 1-inch break creates a piece of furniture. It's got a much nicer look than if you just did a straight flat galley front. It's you could almost consider it an extended toe kick, because you do get, we've only got a 1/4 inch overlap on the countertop, but then the 1 inch down here, I just think it adds a little something. And we're about details. As you can see here again, grain matched this way, and then grain matched this way, and staggered drawers. Alex makes all these drawers in-house. And then we've got 2 cabinets, one on each side. And as I'll show you, if we took out all these pots and pans, you've got full access to the plumbing and the water heater if they need service. My plumbing system is a 4-zone system. So each of the water zones can be isolated. So if you're out on the road, if you're on vacation, or in someone like Sam's case, you live full time, if one of these systems goes down, you spring a leak in one of the zones, just shut it off and go on your way. And then you can fix it, but it doesn't delay your trip and it doesn't impede the rest of the water system. So that's plumbing. I'll give you a quick shot of that later. Down here in this cabinet, we left this one tall so that Sam could put some of his taller items in it. And you can see again my plumbing. I use Upener fittings with PEX A. It's a very, very good foolproof system, and I've got another set of shutoff valves there. The other thing we have here is we've got filtered and UV cleansed water. So you can use the water from the freshwater tank for drinking and cooking. It passes through a sediment filter, it passes across a UV light, and it comes out here ready to use. The refrigerator is an isotherm. This is a Webasto product. Webasto is the mother company. I see these isotherm refrigerators on some of the best, biggest yachts on the water. I love them. This one, look at the size of this freezer. These are separate freezer fridge components. They each have their own compressor. This fridge has 2 compressors. It's an AC/DC fridge, but with the battery system that we have in place, it's so airtight you got to slam it. With the battery system that's in place on this van, 630 amps, there's really no need to turn on the AC, even if he's plugged in, which he will rarely do. It sips power on the DC side. It's very efficient. And what I do is I triple insulate behind this entire module, because typically when you park a van and you're going to stay for a few days, you typically put the sun over there, because your patio side with the awning is where you want to live outside. You want to be shaded. So if you're putting this side against the sun, you're heating up the refrigerator. So it's got to work harder. So I triple insulate this entire area so the fridge doesn't have to work so hard. In this box, this is actually an access panel for my solar breakers. I've got 600 watts of solar up on the roof. I ran those down in 2 separate strings of 300, and they each have their own solar controller back here in the garage. But the main breakers to shut those solar panels off should be as close to the panels as possible. That line length should be as short as possible. So I put those breakers behind this panel. Sam's rarely going to have to get in here. But it's a very easy fix to get in. Just pull the 2 screws and this panel pops off. Under the panel, or under the pantry rather, we had a little bit of space left, so we put a little cubby. And this goes all the way back the depth of the refrigerator. I put my whole arm in there. And what would you put in there? I suppose you would put maybe rolled up insulation covers for your glass. You could put those in there, anything you want. But basically we try to make use of every inch possible in a van. Down here is the vent for his Webasto heater. And then this area under the fridge, there are certain cases where we make a huge laundry drawer. In this case, we left it open and we sent the floor in there, because I don't put finished flooring under the entire van. That would be wasteful. It's a waste of weight and it's a waste of money. So the flooring stops at my modules. But in this case, we gave him a little shoe cubby. And then this is a little step to get in and out of bed. And of course, this is all made from 80/20. And some of the things that didn't arrive in time for this video, One of them is the end covers, the caps for this. But this is an 80-20 step that we made in-house, and Sam will get into the bed. And we figured when he gets out of bed, he's going to put his left foot down here, and the next foot goes to the floor. And that is the most comfortable, safe way to get out of the bed. Typically, you might think you want to put the step all the way across, but we, and primarily Sam, because I work with the client, he decided this is how he wanted to do this. And there's a night light. I put a red night light in all the vans, so when it's nighttime, this is enough light to get the entire van illuminated, and it doesn't steal your night vision. It helps you. And the switch, obviously, fuzzy logic, right? He's in bed. If he doesn't want to leave it on all night, and he's getting out of bed, it's right there to turn it on. The microwave. This thing is, I call my battery the big Mama Luke. I think this microwave is the second Mama Luke. It's a drawer microwave, which I love because it's safe. You're going to take your hot stuff out and put it right on the counter, okay? Typically, microwaves are put up high, usually over the fridge. So you do run the risk of scalding yourself with anything that hot is coming out. You got to bring it right past your face. Doesn't make sense to me. So I said, Sam, if you have to have a microwave, let's get a drawer style, and we'll put it down here. This is a great spot in this type of a floor plan for a dresser. You could put several drawers here and the step to get in and out of the bed. I did that for the Vagabonds. But because this microwave was so big and it was so important to Sam, that's where it takes center stage at the end of the aisle. My cabinets, these wall cabinets, full length, this is almost 9 feet worth of cabinetry, and the design was very specific, linear, unobstructed sight lines all the way down the line. Under here we've got white Formica, glossy Formica. We play around with different textures and reflective surfaces. The Corian is semi-matte. I've got padded marine vinyl on my walls, and then I've got the glossy Formica under here. I've got acrylic sliding doors. And these cabinets are lighted all the way down the line. I think it's for aesthetic. Sam likes the fact that he can see what he's looking at in the cabinet. And these cabinets are backed with a flexible plastic shroud that I can remove, again, for access, wires, whatever the case may be. Future. If Sam's out for a year and he decides he wants another USB plug or a light somewhere, I pop those panels down, boom, I run the wires. The other thing behind this panel, I have a sub panel, electrical fuse box. My main breaker panel is over here, which you'll see later, but I run a line over to this sub panel, and this is where I run all my lighting and some USB, but primarily the lighting, because the lighting in a van with switches and lights, you could get a real spider web. So I put that on a separate breaker panel in here with labeled fuses. I love these sliders. What I did in this case is I backed these sliders top and bottom with black felt. And this tends to mitigate any vibration. And when you're accelerating, they would have a tendency to slide open. The felt helps that, prevents it from happening. Look at these little handles. This was one of Alex's design moves. These are solid walnut, and these actually came from leftover wood from van number 1. And what happened after we got done with van number 1 is I decided, with all that material that was left and the heart and soul that I put into that first build, which I did on spec, I wanted to bring a little bit of van number 1 into every van I build. And that's what infuses the soul in a Humble Road van. So these are solid walnut. They're from van number 1. Thumbelina knows what I'm talking about. She's the one that owns van number 1. So I have been able to put a little bit of van number 1 into every van I've built. My stringer system, my ceiling system, these are marine vinyl padded panels. And we built an encapsulated panel that's got a 1/2 inch of insulation on the top side. And these panels are held in place by these stringers or stretchers that run across each of those van beams. These are made in-house and we spray them. If I were to remove this one stretcher, these 2 ceiling panels would be able to drop down and come out. It's that simple. Again, you got a leak, you got to find the leak, you want to run a wire, drop a panel, and you can find it. A lot of builders put in those wood tongue and groove ceilings, and they're beautiful to look at, but you've sealed off that area now. You can't get up there. Ceiling height in a ProMaster is not the highest. You'd go to a Ford Transit for that, or Mercedes Sprinter made a, I think they call it a super high. I'm not sure, but they made it intermittently. Anyway, Sam's tall. We had to make sure we had enough ceiling height in here for Sam. What that meant was he could not have any insulation under this floor. We went with 1/2 inch plywood. We glued it directly to the van floor and then our finished floor on top. These are the trade-offs. When you have a van, you've got to make some decisions. What is most important to you? Because there was no insulation under the floor, I had the whole undercarriage of this van sprayed with lizard skin. Lizard skin is a ceramic. It's going to offer soundproofing. It's going to offer rust protection and a little bit of insulation. It's a beautiful white. It will reflect any heat back down to the ground if you're in the southwest. Another issue we had with Sam's height is the air conditioners. If you were to install this air conditioner in a typical fashion, this inner shroud would be at the ceiling height. And what that would mean is it would be hitting Sam's head. So we had to recess this inner shroud. This is only down 3/4 of an inch from the van roof. And then we framed it off in the solid walnut that came from van number 1. And so now Sam just skims right under this. And as I said in one of my videos, this is how he knows it's time for a haircut. The cooking area is right here. You wouldn't know it because I like to keep the countertops wide open and clear. It's a nice clean look. It adds to that feeling of spaciousness and linear sight line. So Sam's got a induction cooktop which he can pull right out. The plug for the induction cooktop is right here. It's a dedicated GFCI. Also have another dedicated plug for the microwave. So some people, like the Vagabond van, they wanted their induction cooktop inset into the counter. No problem. But what I suggested was we'll inset it, but I'm not going to fasten it in any way. So you can still take it outside if you like. And they do. And they love that. Options. That's what we're all about. Options. So obviously you make that one drawer big enough for the induction cooktop. And that's that slam latch again. I love that. The windows, again, it's important to have glass all around, but there are times where you want privacy. And I'm not a fan of these valance boxes and these blinds. A lot of them do have issues. So what I've done is I had these curtains made up, and these are double-lined, light-tight curtains that, as you see, they just live right down in this little trough that we made. There's magnets inside these hems, and you basically just let the curtain find its way, and you've got your curtain in place. And then to take it down, you just remove it, same way. So the curtain stuff's right back down in this trough, and you don't see it. And I've done that with each of the windows. Now here in the bedroom, again, we've got fuzzy logic on the switches. The top switch controls that accent light. The middle switch controls the pucks. And then the bottom switch controls the accent light on that side. He's got a 120 volt outlet. He's got a dual USB port. We've got USB ports throughout the van. This is his breaker panel. I've carried this over from the boating world. I just think it's a beautiful panel. I like the analog feel. I like the fact that you can come in here and constantly monitor and adjust your circuits. And then down here, we put in a remote switch for a baby inverter. Now wait till you see what this does. This is pretty cool. Sam gets up here in the bed, and we turn on the baby inverter. Okay, then you get your remote, and we have a power bed. So now Sam can bring the head of his bed up, and I'm going to have a cinema screen right here that he can pull down, put his projector on this shelf along with his other tchotchkes and John he needs to sleep, and it's movie night. And if it's a long movie, like you're watching the Godfather trilogy, for instance, and you need to get a little more comfortable, well, then you just raise your feet as well. Look at this. How comfortable is this? It's movie night. We're in a van. This is a van. It's pretty cool. Sam loves it. And this is not a very complex installation at all. We put the baby inverter in, and he can leave that on all night and adjust the bed as he sees fit throughout the night. Didn't make sense to run this on the 3,000 watt inverter all night long. There's a lot of phantom draw off that big inverter. So we got a little 600 watt inverter that's dedicated to this bed. Again, we've got another fan back here right over the bed. So there's going to be very little need for air conditioning most of the time. And as I mentioned, this shelf is in here. It's not necessarily a travel shelf, but he can put all kinds of stuff up here. He's got a USB plug in that corner to run his projector or a CPAP machine. Same thing, the windows have their, in this case, their gray wool curtains. We wanted to butch things up a little bit in the bedroom for Sam. So we got gray curtains. And it's comfortable. And then you come right out, back down on that step, and you're back to real life. For additional airflow, and to keep the bugs out, we installed these Rolleff screens. These Rolleffs are fantastic. Very, very high quality product. The way these work is you zip them down, and then to go in and out, you just move. It's very nice. Super high quality. And then, as I said, you need to find space and use it in a van. This little space here turned out to be an ideal storage spot for our Fiamma awning crank. See that? Now there's one thing I'll say. I don't believe in the power awnings. The reason is it's just one more thing to break. And there have been cases where those awnings are deploying out on the highway while people are driving. So we don't need that. We're supposed to be relaxing on these trips, right? And really, is this a big problem? I think we could do this, right? If you can't do this, maybe you shouldn't be traveling in a van. But anyway, this is a great spot for this. Again, fuzzy logic. That's where you need to use it. That's where it's stored. Very easy to get these back where they belong. And they look nice. These Rolleffs are just, they're fitted perfectly to every van. Really high quality. Now, these running boards. You see how this running board is? I am sick and tired of these third-party aftermarket running boards because they're never deep enough and they start under the van. So you've got this very little spot that you've got to sidestep to get out of the van. It's not safe. So I make my own running boards out of 80/20, and now there's no problem getting in and out. And they look good too. You're not going to get any dust or dirt collection on them. Everything's going to fall through. I know one friend of mine, he was camping in the winter, and he didn't think about it, he didn't realize it, but the step had iced over, and when he stepped out that morning, whew, right on his ass. So anyway, that's what I do. They're custom running boards. I've got them on the driver's side as well. Along here, on the outside of the van, patio side, I've got a 120 volt outlet. And then this is a clip for the awning arm. The leg of the awning can go out on the ground, or you can clip it here. And then this is my house hydrant. This is an outdoor washdown, and I've got this piped into a mixing valve So it's warm water. So basically you can set that temperature to whatever your liking is and then forget it. And whenever you put your house hydrant valve in here, you've got that hot or warm water. So this could be an outdoor shower. You're washing the dog, washing your bike, warm water, 45 gallons. Around the back, we have the garage. The garage is very important for a full timer. Everything Sam owns is in this van, and he carries it with him. So it's important that he's got room for it. Now, he's certainly going to reorganize and put more stuff back in here, but we were sure to give him as much storage space as possible. So leading into the garage, this is his freshwater fill. This is another one of those house hydrants, but in this case it's working in reverse. So you put your valve in here with the hose connected to your water source, and you're filling your tank through 1-inch PEX tubing, PEX A with opener fittings. 45-gallon water tank is right behind that panel, and I put in a little switch, a little LED light, and you can see the level of water as you're filling the tank. And then the vent for the tank is right here. We've got curtains that close this whole area off, so from inside it looks real nice. Looks like you're in a bedroom. We've got another roll-off screen back here. And what we decided is with the double-lined curtain and then the air gap and then the roll-off screen and then an air gap to the rear doors, we didn't need any kind of insulative covers on these rear door windows. It wasn't necessary. The rear doors, this is a PVC, a sheet of PVC that we cut. This one was templated by hand and cut by hand with a jigsaw. Moving forward, we have a CNC machine that's going to be able to cut these out all day long. And then plywood down here, he can screw into this and drill it and do whatever he wants to hang whatever he wants on here. And back here, all the way in the rear, is my physical plant, as I call it. This is the utility room. Over here, this is a reservoir that I've got glycol, antifreeze. And basically, it's my system. It's a closed loop system. I have a water pump. When he starts the engine, this glycol gets pumped up to a heat exchanger up front. It steals the heat from the engine coolant, brings it back to my water heater. So I got 5.5 gallons of water for hot water. You're basically making hot water as you drive, so you could kind of say it's for free. That's how that system works. The heat exchanger up front, I simply cut a coolant line and put each end on the heat exchanger. So I've only extended the travel of the engine coolant by 7 inches. And if there's a failure in the lines, it's a failure in my lines under the van. The van is still operational. One of the issues I have with this is this glycol gets up to 170 degrees pulling from the engine. ProMasters are running at 215 degrees normal temperature. That coolant is hot. So in the summer months, this can get hot and come through the bed if you've just driven and you're ready to go to bed. So we would put an insulated box on that. In the winter months, you may welcome those warm toes. My water pump, you can see, is front and center, and that's no coincidence. Obviously, it's there for you to service, and if you needed to replace it, it's very easy. And I'm putting my water pump on top of the water tank. I don't put any holes in the water tank other than through the top, because it can't leak that way. I have an access hatch in the top, and my water line from the water pump goes down into the bottom of the tank. There's a check valve down there, so when he turns off the water doesn't drop out of this side of the pump back into the tank, which would cause an air bubble the next time you turn it on. So you've always got good continuity of water. Then the back of the microwave is here. And then over here, I've got my 3,000 watt inverter. Let me clear a little room for you so you can see some of these components. 3,000 watt inverter. And next to that is the battery BMS from a company called Lithionics. It's the only battery that I'll put in a van. And you can see the back of it right there. That's a 630 amp hour battery. It's one big box. It's the only battery on the market that's UL listed. It's safe. This is lithium iron phosphate chemistry. That's the safer. The Cobalt is the one that we had problems with in the past. Here's my little baby inverter, little 600-watt inverter. I've got my 2 solar controllers. Each one of those is pulling down from the 300-watt strings up on the roof. And my breakers and my bus bars and shutoffs are on that back wall. One of my build philosophies is I like all of this stuff to remain visible at all times. So when Sam is living in the van day to day, he's back in here all the time, he's subconsciously putting eyes on all these components. And if something goes wrong, he's going to notice it a lot sooner than later. Same thing with the plumbing. When he goes in to get his crock pot in that cabinet, he's got his eyes on the pipes. He doesn't know it, but he does. And when he sees something wrong, he'll know it. The flooring back here in the garage is actually the stuff they use in gymnasiums and like weight rooms. It's a recycled rubber product, and I got a thinner version. This is only a 1/4 inch thick, and it's perfect. It soundproofs, it insulates. You can take it out and hose it down, put it right back in. And it prevents things from sliding around. Sam's got his telescoping ladder. You can see some more of the 80/20 back here that I put in. So we gave him a little shelf situation on this side, and we left this side tall so he could store taller items. Let me see if I can get this. There's another access hatch back here. And this again goes to my build philosophy. That is our shore power connection. So this is the back side of the shore power connection on the outside of the van. If there is a problem, if you have to change it out, if you've ever had to change out your plug on the outside, it's a scary endeavor because you don't know what's behind that van wall. Well, here you do. And you can put your eyes on those wires. I've seen some of these shore power plugs that melt, so we don't want that happening. He's got a 120 volt outlet back here, GFCI. And up on the roof, beyond the backup camera, I have an 80/20 roof rack, and that is primarily for his solar panels. It's a fully custom roof rack, and on this side, Sam has a WeBoost setup. He's got a Wi-Fi and cellular network in the van, but he doesn't need to use this WeBoost portion, this antenna, all that often because he's got 3 carriers that he can rely on. So he wanted this to be able to swing up. This is kind of like a hybrid. We got the WeBoost receiver, but we got a trucker antenna, and we modified it to fit and work with the WeBoost. Then I made up a pivot system with 80/20 components. So he just has to get his ladder out, loosen that knob, bring the antenna up, and he gets a nice tall throw on the antenna, and then bring it back down. Here's that smart plug. This is the shore power connection, a smart plug. It offers far more contact area, so you have less heat buildup. Safe plug, very smart. It's in the name. Down here is your gray water release. I don't think he's got any gray water in there, but this is a nice rock solid garden hose variety. It's that frost-free pipe that goes all the way back. This is his Webasto exhaust for his heating system. He's got 21 gallons of gray water capacity under the van. There's very little under this van other than the gray water tank and our plumbing lines. I did PVC plumbing, and where those PVCs, in certain areas of my PVC drain system, I cut that PVC and put in a rubber Fernco adapter. The reason for that is twofold. If you were driving along and something came under the van and ripped out your drain work down there, well, the Fernco rubber would give way and you wouldn't have destroyed your entire plumbing system. A section would have to be replaced. And anytime a section would have to be replaced, you just undo it at the Fernco. And it's not like you have to work a whole nother system. And here's the other running board for the passenger, for the driver. This is all 80/20. A little bit of a stagger step on the front for style. Up top, in the front of my 80/20 rack and solar panels, we put a little air dam, an airfoil, to direct the air up and over so you don't get any harmonics or vibration. There's one more thing I wanted to show you inside. It was a last minute decision we made in this galley area. Another detail. You know, you got to try to think beyond conventional, right? You would put in a countertop with a backsplash and you'd be on your way to another project. Well, we said, well, wait a minute. Let's make use of that backsplash. We've got some depth here. So we built this little walnut shelf, I guess you'd call it, and a little acrylic backsplash. This is siliconed in, so it's waterproof, but it gives Sam one more place to put stuff, all edge banded.
Thank you very much for taking the time today to give us a tour of your beautiful Ram ProMaster camper conversion. Earlier in the video, you mentioned about a cardboard mock-up stage. Can you tell our audience a little bit about what that involves?
Yeah, what I do, the initial discussions I have with a client are based on me listening to their objectives, what it is they want, what are their expectations. The first step after that is I do a Google SketchUp rendition. Not too detailed, but enough to get things moving. But what's most important is after that stage, I build the van out of cardboard. I buy 4x8 sheets of cardboard, I buy 2x2 pine stick, and I build the van to the 1/8 of an inch, detailed. I will even put these little drawer boxes in. I'll have a working bed, but it's all cardboard and stick frame. Now the clients come in and they walk through their van, as it's going to be in the final stages. It's at that point that we nip and tuck. You want a deeper cabinet? Well, we understand then you need a less hallway, or, you know, this is where we fit, as I say, we fit the van to them like a suit of clothing. The two of them, even the choreography of passing in the aisle here, that's all done at that cardboard stage because it's built exactly to the spec I'm going to build the finished van on. One of my past clients, we talked about a bathroom box with the door on the left, the door on the right. And she said, I can't picture it with the door on the right. I says, okay, go to lunch. When you come back, I had 2 separate bathroom boxes. And I put one in, she took a look, took it out, put the other one in, she took a look, and she was able to choose. It's an important step. It really is. You can look at these drawings and floor plans in Google SketchUp, and you can look at drawings. There's nothing like walking through a 3-dimensional van and touching it and seeing what it's doing to you as you come in. There's a tendency to get claustrophobic in these vans. They're small. So we make sure you can get that done at the cardboard stage.
The last 2 videos we did, the Vagabond van and the first van, were extremely popular videos. People really enjoyed watching you give the tour, and they got hundreds of thousands of views each. I know a lot of our audience is going to be wondering, how do they follow you and check out your business? Can you tell them how to get in touch with you?
Humble Road. On YouTube, just search out Humble Road. And what I do is all along the build, I shoot videos. Once, twice, 3 times a week, I'll put a video up. And I detail whatever it is we're working on. I explain why we did it, how we did it, all of those behind the scenes events that occur are on the channel. And then we do our final van tour videos. I'm going to give myself a shameless plug here. I'm embarking on a little side product which I call the Mini-Me's. And these are micro campers. So I've got the ProMaster City, the Ram ProMaster City. I'm turning these into solo travelers. So this next season, I call my build cycles seasons. I'm delivering this van today. I've got 2 Ford Transits, big ones, and then I'm going to have 3 of my Mini-Me's. So that's what the winter has in store for everybody on the YouTube world, is 2 Ford Transit build-outs and 3 Mini-Me's. So it's going to be a great year.
And I'll also link to your Instagram, because there's a lot of great information on there as well. Your channel is a weekly video, I believe it's on Sundays?
Yes, yeah, typically it was always a Sunday video. I've taken to doing shorter videos 2 or 3 times a week. I prefer to do the big Sunday video. It's a story. I like to weave you through all the different aspects of the build and then bring you back to where we started. You know, my past job, I was a commercial photographer for 35 years. So I was in the image making world. It's a passion of mine. I still have to do it. I've got to put a camera in my hand and do a good video story. So I'm actually an image maker that builds vans.
Well, George, thank you very much for taking the time today to give us a tour of your beautiful creation. I'm going to let you get back to the shop. I know you got a lot going on there. Well, this is Patrick with New Jersey's Outdoor Adventures YouTube channel. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please like this video, comment, share, and subscribe. I'd love it. We'll see you soon.